I am Johnny Maney from Johnny's Restaurant and Takeaway, Wargassill, Cork, Ireland. We are delighted to sponsor the Sandy Kelly's Life and Time show.
Hot Country presents the life and times of Irish country music legend Sandy Kelly.
Hello, my name is Eilish O'Sullivan and you're very welcome to our last episode of the life and times of our country music legend Sandy Kelly. Sit back, relax and enjoy her story.
What's your star sign?
Pisces, fish.
And your favourite colour?
Red.
Why?
I don't know, I think maybe it's a show busy thing, isn't it? I think if you put on red, be it red lipstick or a red dress or something, you feel glamorous. I think it's that, you know. And
your favourite
item? She who always wears black.
Right. And your favourite item of clothing?
Do you know, I have so many things. Like this jacket that I'm wearing today, I bought in Nashville 25 years ago. And I always frequented, maybe it comes from my great-grandmother having the bric-a-brac stall in St. George's Market. I've always loved going to charity shops. I've always loved going to vintage, second-hand designer shops. So every time I went to Nashville or London or any place, I always looked up. In America, they call them consignment, which sounds posher than second-hand.
Right.
And I have wardrobes full of the most fantastic outfits that I bought years ago, which would be second-hand. What's my favourite? Gosh, I have...
Lots.
Lots, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like each one of them has a memory.
Right.
Like I have the outfits I wore for the West End. Still have the jacket I wore to record with Johnny Cash in Markey Castle. I have the shirt I wore for Woodcarver. I have my outfit I wore in the Eurovision. So it'd be hard to pick one, you know.
Irish country music legend Sandy Kelly, what piece of advice or what advice would you give to new artists starting out in the business?
I think to learn their craft. You have to learn your craft. You can't... Show business is like any other business or any other career. You have to know what you're doing. And Harold Bradley, my producer in Nashville, who sadly passed away, he was one of the founding members of country music. Chet Atkins, Harold Bradley, Owen Bradley, who produced Patsy Cline, they were the founder members of RCA in Nashville. And he told me, Sandy, you have to be ready. If you're persistent and work consistently enough at your craft, you have to be ready when the opportunity comes. And there was times in my kitchen in Sligo I'd be thinking, why am I ready for what? Like there's nothing happening. What is? But when it did happen, I was ready.
Right.
So be ready. And the other thing I would say to them, and it's something that I've noticed, is when we were growing up, we watched the people that we admired, the artists that we admired, and we learned from them. You know, great performers, great entertainers, great singers. I don't think, I won't say all of the young artists, I don't think some of them do that. I don't think they watch the people who went before them. You know, I've been on shows where the newer artists will be way off the other end of the building.
Yeah. Not
taking any notice of what Philomena Begley is doing, what I'm doing, what anybody's doing. Whereas that's how they learn, is to sit down. They might not like what I'm doing, but they'll learn something.
Right.
And I still learn.
Right.
I watch people now, and I'll be 70 in 2 weeks, and I learn now.
Lots of the big stars in Nashville. Did you ever meet Tammy Wynette?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, she was wonderful. I actually met her here first. No, wait, no, I met her in Nashville first. I won an award when I went to Nashville in '89, and the award was presented at her house. And it's a beautiful house, and I had my picture taken in her bathroom, sitting on her loo. And her husband, George Ritchie, was there. And then she came to sing at the Point that year before I met Johnny Cash when I did the tour with Waylon. She was at the Point, there was Waylon, there was Tammy Wynette, there was, what's the guy, oh my gosh, Buck Owens. There was a whole load of people on, and she was on that. I met her on that. She was lovely, and she was just a lovely lady. And sadly, you know, she lived a very difficult life, a very sad life, and you know, died far too soon. I mean, an awful lot of people back then, I think when they were travelling, people like Johnny Cash and Tammy Wynette and people like that, they had to, such long journeys on their tour buses, they had to, you know, getting off a stage with like thousands of people, adoring fans, come down off that. So they would take something to sleep on the bus. But then when they got to the next place, they had to be up again, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They'd be given something, same as Judy Garland and all that. They'd have to take something to wake up.
Yeah.
And I think they became addicted to all kinds of medicines.
Do you like something that you, like what you said there earlier on, one of the Tammy Wynette songs she wrote to her daughters, and in the song she missed an awful lot of their school you know, shows, and when they were growing up.
Same as me.
She was never there, she was never home.
Never home. And can you imagine, I just lived in Ireland when my kids were growing up for the earlier years. But in America, the journeys were like, they would be on that bus for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And then I believe Tammy Wynette and Loretta Lynn, when the bus would come back to their house, they'd have to spend several nights on the bus with the engine running for them to be able to sleep.
Right.
Because that's what they were used to.
They were used to it. Yeah.
And it is a huge regret, you know, and the time away from my children I can't get back.
Right.
You know, but in my defence, I was the wage, I put the bread on the table. They put the bread on the table. It was never out of a sense of glory or wanting to be important. It was because I needed to pay the bills.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's what it had to be done.
It had to be done, and you didn't think about it.
Going back through the years, crowds-wise, of course, there were thousands and upon thousands at the various gigs around the country, the festivals and, I suppose, field days and marquees. Do you ever miss that?
No. No, the marquees, I missed the buzz of the marquee when people came in. And, you know, you could be playing till 3 o'clock in the morning and a crowd of fellas would come up at the end of the night. One night I remember being carted off the stage, some fella over his shoulder, and out the back door the band kept playing, and he brought me away up a field. If that was now, you'd be calling the guards. And he just dropped me up at the top of the field. I had to walk back and up through the marquee in my high heels and back. There were innocent times, and at the end of the night, fellas would come up and say, I'd say to them, well, you know, you're heading home. And I'd say, no, such and such died down the road. We're going to the wake, because they'd get drink. You know, so there was all kind of an innocent fun. And I miss that. I don't miss the journeys. I don't miss not having a place to change. You know, they'd be sent a poster of you looking like a movie star, and you were expected to get out at the back of the van,
right,
looking the same, you know.
Right.
Maybe 7 hours later, having left home. So I don't miss that, no.
And Sandy, when your time comes and you depart this life and you meet God, what are you going to say to him, and what do you think will he say to you?
I suppose I'll have to ask him why my sister left the way she did, you know. I suppose I'll have to ask him why my daughter was born with special needs. We're blessed that my daughter Barbara is as good as she is, but I would have liked her to have the same opportunities in life as every other girl. I would like her to have been able to get married, have children. I mean, if Barbara wants to go to the shop to buy a bag of crisps, she can't do it. The things we take for granted. And then that's not a lot really when you consider all the other things that's going on in the world, you know, at the moment. You would have to ask him why all those things happened. What would he ask me? I think he might ask me why I didn't do more. Because I feel like I could have done more.
More in what respect? I
think in a lot of respects, you know, maybe, like we said, for my sister, more with my family. I think women always feel they never, well, maybe men do too, you can tell me, but I think women always feel they could have done better. You know, I could have been maybe a better wife, a better mother. I'm hoping I'll be the best grandmother. My grandson is telling me that I am. And I think maybe done more, yeah.
I am Johnny Maney from Johnny's Restaurant and Takeaway, Wargassill, Cork, Ireland. We are delighted to sponsor the Sandy Kelly's Life and Time show.
And Sandy, you've just released a fantastic book called Sandy Kelly in My Own Words. Tell us about that brilliant book.
Well, firstly, it's not something I ever thought I'd do or wanted to do. But my son Willie and Johnny and June's son, John Carter Cash, encouraged me to write my story and my journey, starting from the Fit Up Roadshow, which is a culture that's kind of forgotten, right through to today. And going alongside with the book to go back to Cash Cabin in Nashville and record an album where the songs would reflect that journey and the stories in the book.
Right. And did you write it all yourself?
I wrote it by hand myself, because I'll tell you why I wrote it. I didn't feel qualified to write it, to be honest, but I felt that I didn't want somebody to ghostwrite it. I wanted it to be like we're now, that whoever read the book, and hopefully somebody would, it would be like I was talking to them in conversation, if you like, rather than just reading stories and dates, and you know, that it would be very personable. And the feedback I've been getting has really overwhelmed me, where people have said, you know, they can identify with certain things in it themselves, and that they did feel like I was sitting beside them talking to them, which is lovely.
And also some fantastic pictures, old pictures going back through the years.
Yeah.
They're really good. And it's released by O'Brien Press, isn't it?
Yeah, Michael O'Brien rang me initially, to be honest, and he asked me to do this book, and it took him 2 years to persuade me as well to do it. I had gotten 7 chapters to him, and sadly he passed away suddenly. But I was delighted I got those 7 chapters to him. I was embarrassed sending them to him, because he was a very well-read, well-educated person, unlike me. But he rang me in tears saying how much he loved it, and that gave me, I suppose, the courage and the confidence to finish the book.
And it can be got, I assume, in every good bookshop around the country.
Yeah, you know what was fantastic for me? It was the weirdest feeling. It was so funny to be going around all of the bookstores in Ireland. I drove to as many of them as I could, and met people who queued up to get me to sign their book and put messages on it and talk to them. Like, out of all the things I've achieved in my life, did I ever think I'd be sitting in a bookshop signing books for people?
And you also released an album.
Went back to Cash Cabin, and Willie and John Carter co-produced it. And there again, going into the studio to do the album, I felt very emotional. I hadn't done an album in 30 years.
Right.
You know, because of all the court cases and stuff like that. And then I lost the will to want to do one. So when I went back, you know, there were a lot of, like we talked about, a lot of losses in my life, and I felt kind of burdened a little bit emotionally. But coming out of that studio after 4 visits to Nashville, I felt light-hearted, and you know, the emotion had gone into the songs, which was great.
And of course, Cash Cabin is John Carter Cash, son of June and Johnny Cash. And you're very friendly with John Carter, are you?
Yeah, but he was on Johnny's band when I was touring with them, and my son is a little bit younger. I would have brought Willie with me a lot, and him and John Carter would have got on. So they've stayed in touch. And that cabin is in the middle of the woods, and it's where Johnny used to go. Prior to it being a recording studio, he would go there just to get away from everybody and everything. And on a couple of occasions he rang me from there. And I suppose when I went back this time to record, it was really the first time I really understood the depth of our friendship. Because you know the way you'd be thinking, oh, why would Johnny Cash count me as one of his friends, or why would he be interested in me? But he rang me from that cabin several times to talk about nothing really, at length.
Right.
And when I was stood there in the woods, I went for a wee walk, I thought, you know what, he did care about me, because this was his time out. This is when he was trying to get away from people. So he would only talk to the people that meant something to him, you know.
Do you like going back to Nashville?
I would love to go back now again. Prior to doing the album, I didn't want to go back, because so many people had passed away, you know. Rather than visiting people, I was visiting graves. You know, Patsy Cline's husband, Charlie, is gone. My producer is gone. Johnny is gone. June is gone. June's sisters, Helen and Anita. All the people that had welcomed me and that had, you know, created a friendship with me are gone. And I realised now, by going back and doing the album, that what I was feeling was nonsense. You know, I needed to go back, and I needed to reminisce and remember and be grateful for the blessings of knowing all these people.
And briefly, Sandy, tell us about your son's career in music. I know he's producing a lot, and he's very, very popular.
Well, William started out. He graduated from music college in Dublin, and then he came and joined my band as percussionist and sang, and then he became my drummer. So I suppose, like me, he learned his craft by being on the road in the end. And then he went to Nashville and lived for 2 years when he was young to learn how to co-write songs and write songs, and that was like a 9-to-5 job. Came back and he formed a band called Rackhouse Pilfer that were bluegrass and did Glastonbury and all kinds of things.
Very successful.
Yeah, very successful. Unfortunately, they all emotionally moved in different directions and they split up. I think now William works for Midnight Mango, which is a big company in England, a management company. So he books dates for Glenn Campbell's daughter, Ashley Campbell, who's on my tour, Niall McCabe, Johnny Cash's grandson, loads of people. He's about 12 artists, and he also is the co-producer of Sligo Live, which is a big festival.
Fantastic.
And he's working with me. So
actually follow Sandy Kelly.
Well, sandykellymusic.com to get all the information for all the tour dates and the book and the album, and Facebook. It's always easy to get me on Facebook. I answer all my messages myself. It's me. Somebody messaged me yesterday and say, "Is this really Sandy Kelly?" Yeah, I answer all my messages because I like to keep a connection with the people that follow me. And you know, in country music we have a loyal following, as you know, and it's nice to keep that connection.
Well, Sandy, thank you for joining us in Hot Country, and continued success to you.
Thank you very much, Hugh. I appreciate it.
We've come to the end of our 3-part exclusive series of the life and times of Sandy Kelly. What a wonderful story. We hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for joining us each week. Hope to see you all again real soon.
I am Johnny Maney from Johnny's Restaurant and Takeaway, Wargassill, Cork, Ireland. We are delighted to sponsor the Sandy Kelly's Life and Time show.